everyone, welcome to my ultimate Ohuhu marker making sense of the nonsense video. I hope you can learn something today. Today I'm going to show you the different, all the different lines in the Ohuhu sets, the different types of tips, the different types of inks, help you understand how you can get to owning the full color range of Ohuhu, since they don't make just one set with all the colors in it, and much more. And we're going to test some of the different mediums on different papers toward the end of the video, and I'm going to show you the different tips on the different markers once I go into explaining the different sets. I do have here a little brochure that gives a little idea. This is for one of the lines, but you can see here a little chart that shows some different. We have the Honolulu A, B, Oahu, Kaala, Kaala S, and of course there's others, the Molokai, the Kako, and the Maui, which I will be discussing separately. So just so you know, and I do have here the Kaakao series, which I'm going to show you now real quick before I launch into the rest of the video, because I forgot. I'm recording this after I did the rest of the video because I forgot to show you these acrylic Ohuhu paint markers, which are the newest ones. If you're new to this video, please subscribe. Please join my Facebook group, which you can find linked in the video comments and details section below. It is the Coloring Oasis Adult Coloring Community for regular contests, giveaways, color-alongs, and early access to my coloring book sales when I'm getting rid of my big batches of books, because I tend to get a lot of books from a lot of different places over time that I end up not using. Okay, so real quick, let's look at this Ohuhu 30 acrylic marker Kaakao series. And this is their first attempt at doing, you know, the equivalent of Ohuhus or paint pens. I do have to say, I do have some different Ohuhus here, which I'll discuss later in the video, all the different types and tips and lines here. The biggest downfall of Ohuhu, despite the fact that I love them, the inks are amazing, they work on most papers, they blend almost as well as Copics. I do have to say their only downside is that they do not release one large set that has the entire color range in it. In alcohol marker, you have to get all these, the big set and all these different supplementary sets to get the full color range, which is a big downfall. So I hope they hear this and will remedy that. All right, so here we have the acrylic pens, which are great because they should be ones that don't bleed through. I love how they give you the black and the white testing swatch. But this is what they look like, and I didn't get a chance to show this in my other video because I completely forgot. But they have the kind of tip or end that you shake like a paint marker. You have to activate it, and they have it on a thin end as well. And let me just activate one real quick and show you, and then we'll move on to the main part of the video. It literally took me about 7 to 10 seconds. I was able to activate it, and we have this nice paint, like a nice paint pen. Nice thick rich ink. There are some tips on how to use acrylic markers without them getting gunked like the Poscas do, which drives me insane. So that will have to be a whole separate video. But you can get, if you get a white one, which I believe there's a white in this set, you can use this for snow, which I love, or sky scenes. Now, obviously, this is computer printer paper, so it's going to show, but even then it barely shows compared to like in your mythographic book, like I have here. When I was testing some other products, I can do just a little bit right here, and you'll see it doesn't probably go through. Does not. Wait. So this would be from when I was doing the water brush marker earlier, which did because I used too much water. So I discuss all of that later in the video, but these are not supposed to go through. Again, it depends on your paper, and I don't really have a lot of time to just try it on all the different papers because of the fact that I forgot to put this into my later video. This is my Nina cardstock I do my Etsy printables on, and you can see I just wrote the word hi, and it didn't come through here. Anyway, let's move on to the rest of the video. You'll find all of these products and everything I do here linked below. Okay, so here on my kitchen table, I've spread out the first part of what we're going to be discussing regarding the Ohuhu, more primary, most common sets you might need to make sense of. I'm going to describe the names, the types, the counts, and how to get the complete color range. So the first thing I wanted to say is that there are really 5 different sets we're going to be talking about. The Ohuhu Oahu, the Honolulu, the Maui, the Molokai, and the Kaala. I'm going to show you the Molokai and the Kaala and talk about those after we do all of these. These sets are the ones that are going to be the most common to adult coloring, which would include the Honolulu, the Oahu, and the Maui. And we have alcohol markers and we have water-based markers. And the most common for adult coloring when it comes to Ohuhus would be the alcohol markers. So the 2 types that are primarily alcohol marker would be, that we'll be discussing here first, is the Ohuhu Honolulu and the Ohuhu Oahu. There are also the water-based markers, which let's look at these first because this is really simple and there's only one set. This is the Ohuhu Maui. The Ohuhu Maui are water-based brush markers, and you can buy them in a 100 set, a 120 set, or a 160 set. The 100 and 120 set, this is the 100 set. The 100 and 120 set are only respectively $1 difference right now on Amazon, $33 or $34, which makes no sense. The 160 set is only $49. I have heard in the 160 set, there are a few that look so close they almost could be duplicates. So I think you would probably be fine with the 120 set, which is kind of what I wish I had. But I don't use these as often, so I'm happy with the 100 set. You get a nice range of colors, as you can see. Now, the water-based Ohuhus, you're going to, which is the Maui line, you're going to want to use only on specific papers. They're very similar to the Tombow dual brush pens. So you can, of course, apply them directly to the paper and just leave as is. You can also apply the paper and use a very delicate water brush, a light amount of water, to get more kind of watercolory effects. However, I tend to do them straight on the paper. Now, the water brush pens tend to streak a little more, so I only use them on smaller areas, like smaller flowers or little animals or little, smaller things. And I'll discuss that more when I show you some examples on paper after we go over this. And also they don't work as well as on the Amazon Basics paper. So they do work fairly well in like the Mythographic, the Joanna Basford, the Kirby Rosanis paper, or printables when you use your own paper that is great for water-based pens. So this would be the Maui line. And these are much more affordable than the alcohol markers. So next we're going to talk about the alcohol markers. But first I want to tell you that for those of you who are in my Facebook group, and if you're not in my Facebook group, please join, because I'm going to be posting a sort of a chart or a list that breaks down the sets, the prices, the quantities, and what you would need to get the full set. But hopefully this visual video will help you. But you can find my Facebook group. It is the Coloring Oasis Adult Coloring Community is the name of my group. And you can find it in there. We're also doing some free contests and giveaways, which we do every month, of coloring supplies and books. So please feel free to join and share your work. Okay, let's talk about the alcohol markers, which are the most common for adult coloring. So for alcohol markers, we have 2 series, the Oahu and the Honolulu. Now, overall, the Ohuhu brand, the total colors that they make in total, like all across the board, is 407. However, in the alcohol marker only sets, the total colors you can get are 363. The 407 includes all across the board with some of the others like the brush markers and the Molokais and the Kaalas, etc. So for alcohol markers only, if you want all the colors, there are 363, and we will discuss how you can get all of those colors. It is a big fault on the end of Ohuhu. They do not have one set with 363 colors combined, which I think is a mistake, and they really need to rectify that to make life simpler for all of us. Okay, so let's talk about how to get the 363 colors. First, I'm going to talk about the difference between the Honolulu and Oahu sets. Okay, the Honolulus are round. They have a round end. Sorry if it's blurry, there's not a ton of light in here. They have a round end, okay? Round barrel, and they have, you can get two different sets. There's set A and set B. But before that, let's go over here to the Oahu. The Oahu set, or the Oahu line, are oval, like this, okay? They're oval versus round, and these are a little bit older. So we have Oahu alcohol markers, and we have Honolulu. Now, they have different tips and ends. The Oahu line, being a little bit older, it's a little bit different. The Oahu line has chisel and fine tips, which I'll show you close up once I get under my camera. Chisel and fine only. The Honolulu line, there's two different sets, particularly if you're going to get the full set here. The Honolulus come in it's the chisel and brush, or the fine tip and brush. So if you wanted to get all 363 colors, here's what you would want to do and how to do it. The first thing you would want to do, this is the newest release that they've come out with, which is the Mega 320 set of Honolulu markers. It's on Amazon for $244, with a little bit of better price than you can get on the Ohuhu website. You can also get that on payment plans on Amazon through Affirm. I think you can get 3, 6, or 12 months as low as like $28 a month. Highly worth every penny. This would be the set I would most often be using in all of my color along tutorials or step-by-step colorings on my channel when I do alcohol markers, particularly Ohuhus, including what I'm going to be doing in my new Patreon or exclusive color along club. So highly worth the investment. Now with this 320 Honolulu set, you can get set A, which is basically just the original set. I don't even know if it says an A. It'll say Honolulu 320 or Honolulu 320B. So basically it's set A and set B. I have set A. Set A is the chisel and the brush, which again, I'll show you closer on camera because I think that's the most commonly used combination. Set B has the fine and the brush, no chisel. Just a reminder, over here the Oahus have no brush tip. So you only get the tiny fine or chisel, so not quite as user-friendly. Okay, so the newer ones, these Honolulu set A is what we have here, 320. This is kind of the base set, the majority of main colors. This is plenty to get you started, to do most of my tutorials. It has a little bit of everything in it. However, that still leaves us 43 colors if we want to get the full 363 set. Here's how you can do that. There's an exclusive Japan set, which is this. It's only available in Japan, and it is the, obviously they're the sort of, Honolulu shape, the round. It's the 80 Japan exclusive set, and it has 19 exclusive colors that you cannot get anywhere else, including here or elsewhere. 19. Now that does mean, however, that the remainder of the colors are overlaps. But if your goal is to get all 363 colors, you would need to get this 80 set to get the 19 exclusive colors. And I'll talk about what to do with all your backup colors here shortly. This is available on Amazon Japan. if it'll deliver to your area, but definitely on eBay. Lots of Japan art stores and sellers sell them on eBay. I got mine on there for $78, which included really fast 3-day express FedEx shipping to the United States. Okay, and I'll see if I can put up a color swatch here so you can kind of see what the exclusive colors are. So we still have to get to the full 363. Let's move on to the skin tones. This here is a separate skin tone set. You can get this on Amazon. It's the Honolulu, the round barrel. It's a 36 skin tone set. It has 21 exclusive colors that are not in this big 320 set or elsewhere. So that's a lot. So that's, yeah, 21 exclusive colors, which means there's 15 overlaps of skin tones. Now, keep in mind, you can also use skin tone colors for most landscapes as well, because there's a lot of earth tones. So I don't just use mine for skin. It's $39.99 on Amazon for this. There's also a 24, which came out before this one was released, 24 skin tones, which I had that, and then I upgraded to this one, which does not have all the exclusive colors that you would need to complete the full color range. Okay. Lastly, we have to look at the pastels. So for pastels, let me show you this. This is the Ohuhu 96 pastel set, which is the biggest pastel set you can get for Ohuhu. It has all the pastels that they make. Technically, this is a combination of 2 separate pastel sets you could buy separately, which is called either Sweetness or Blossoming, okay? And Blossoming, if you were to buy Blossoming separately, it has 46 colors, which I also had originally. This is the Blossoming. In the 46 color Blossoming set, which runs for I think about $34 or $38, in the 46 Blossoming pastel set, which is only half of this pastel set, just to keep in mind. And if you were just to get this 46 set, there are 2 exclusive colors that are not in this set or anywhere else for pastels. If we're talking, how do we get the full 363 colors? In that case, if you had the 320 Honolulu set, you had the Amazon or the Japan exclusive set with the 19 colors, the 36 set skin tones with the 21 exclusive colors, and then the 46 Blossoming pastel set where you would get 2 exclusive colors. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot. I know, 2 exclusive colors. Then again, pastels are faint. They're light. If you use them often, they do fade and run out, in which I'll tell you what you can do with your backups. Okay. Lastly, there is a 36 gray set, which I do not have. Oh, no, let's back up. Let's back up to the pastel set. This 96 pastel set, I believe the cost, oh gosh, I believe it was $74. It's on Amazon. This will have the exclusive colors because it has the full Blossoming set in it, but it also has the Sweetness set. So it's basically every single pastel. And the reason I have this, the reason I bought this, even though I had the Blossoming set with the 2 extras, is because sometimes I like to do pure pastel pictures. Like in certain books, I'm doing all pastels. Sometimes I just want to do pastels. I don't want to have to go digging and fishing through my giant set to find my pastels. Like maybe if I'm using a Sarah Renee Clark color cube and it's saying you need these 5 pastel colors. I don't want to have to go digging through here to find them. I want to go right to my pastel set and grab them out of there. Or sometimes I just don't have a theme in mind other than I know I want to color in pastels. I'll just take my whole little pastel thing. I'll go sit on my recliner with Netflix and I'll just start coloring a page in pastels. It's so much easier than having to pick them out. So that is the reason I got this. And some of the overlaps I have, again, we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's move on to get the final color you need. There's a 36 gray set, which I have to say I do not have. I did not think it was necessary. There is only one exclusive color in the 36 gray set that you cannot get anywhere else, which to me was not worth buying it. That means all other 35 grays are in here. okay? Or in here and in here, basically combined, the Japan set, I guess. So the one single gray color can be purchased separately from the Ohuhu website, and it is YG100. However, they only make it, as of the last I checked, in the Oahu version, which are the oval barrel ones. And so there's no brush nib. So if you're wanting that gray to go with this set, you're not going to get it. You'll have like a gray in here to have your final gray, and it won't match. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, is it worth it? Not really. Not to me, it wasn't. Which is odd because I'm a set completionist and I have set completionist syndrome, but even that wasn't worth it to me. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about, let's say you have, here I have one I haven't shown you yet. Okay, so this is my original set of Ohuhu markers I got 7 years ago. This is the Oahu. I believe this might be was this the 200 set? I think it was. Either way, and then I later purchased this smaller, I believe this is the 120. So if you have the 200 set in, I believe, either the Honolulu or the Oahu, you can go and purchase the 120 set and you would have the full range of 320. So if you have, let's say, now there are a few sets that are maybe like this size of my small pastel set that are called like mid-tone set. I think I have one or two of those also. It's like a mid-tones. It's just some random primary colors in the mid-tone range. There might be 36. Those would definitely be already in here. I think there's one like a 24 of just certain colors. All those smaller sets, if you have any of those random smaller sets that has like 24 or 36 of just like a primary tones or mid-tones, and your goal is to get the whole sets, I honestly would just do away with those. I would just sell them, donate them, and start from scratch. Get the big set, get the skin tone set, 36, at least for starters. And if you really can, it's only an extra, what, $36, get the blossoming set. The small blossoming pastels, the 36 skin tone, and this, you have basically all the colors you really need. You won't have the exclusive 19 from the Japan set, but most of the tutorials, color alongs, things of that nature, you're going to get out of these 3 primary sets. Because to me, if you have like a random 36 and a random 24 set of some random other colors of Ohuhus, you're never going to get to like the full 360 by trying to, what a hassle it'll be to try to find all other 300 of them individually, or get 3 or 4 smaller other sets and hope they all add up. You know, it's a hassle. Like, this is what I'm saying. It's Ohuhu's biggest fault. They need to have a 363 set that would obviously be bigger than this with 43 more colors. It has everything. Everything. I don't know why they don't. They can still sell the smaller ones for people that don't want like the whole thing, but that's it's nonsensical to me that they do that, and I have made a comment about that to them. Now let's talk about the overlaps, okay? Now, I'll admit, for years, since 2017, I've had some of these smaller sets. Like, I only recently upgraded to the bigger pastel set, and I only recently got the the Japan set. So for years, and I also got this one for my 50th birthday, which is what I really wanted. So I really had like an abundance of these smaller sets for years, and it was such a hassle to like have a big old basket of like 6 or 7 little different marker things and finding colors in them when I'm trying to follow along tutorials. Like, it's such a hassle. Like, I just want all my stuff together, like one big thing, you know? So what you can do with the overlap, before we go on to the next part of this video, for example, if you get the skin tone, you're going to have the 21 exclusive colors, you're going to have 15 extra, right? If you get the Japan set, you're going to have you know, like 60 extra or something, 58, whatever. So I purchased 3 marker cubbies, which I'm going to show you, that perfectly will fit. It's 360, will perfectly fit the entire original alcohol marker color range. It'll cover all of this. It'll cover the 19, 21 exclusive colors. It'll cover the extra pastel colors and the 19 extra in the Japan set. And so everything that's left in my Honolulu range, I intend to put in a big old Ziploc baggie or just accumulate them into like an extra case like this and put a label on that says extra. So whenever one of your markers dries out, yes, you can, there is refillable ink for these. However, you won't need to buy refillable ink because you'll have a backup marker. And believe me, this is my Oahu set I've had since 2017. I never bothered with the refillables, to be honest. I probably will for these because they're more of an investment, but I just chucked the marker. Like I just tossed them. I have a good 30. See all this space? I have at least 30, maybe 40 I've tossed over the years because they dry out. And whenever I have big like landscape, ocean, wide surfaces in a picture I'm coloring, I go to these first to use up this older ink before I use my new ones because I'm like preserving those. So every time I go and do like a whole ocean, like, you know, they're also old that they start, I'm finding more and more dry ones, almost dry ones every time I get the final use out of them. So I'm using them to the bitter end. So, and you know, you can travel too with your smaller sets, but your bigger set, you wouldn't want to travel, especially if you have them in the cubbies. So I want to move on to talk to you about, and I'll put together what the price range would be if you were to buy everything, by the way, and how you can do that. But I want to talk next about the Molokai and the Kaala brand, okay? And I'm going to show you those in just a moment. And then we will move on to showing you the tip differences and doing some tests, but I want to first show you my little cubbies. So these are the 3 separate cubbies I purchased for my full Ohuhu color line of the Honolulus. They're 3 individual ones. I did this for my Copics as well, which I might have shown you in another video. And you can see each one holds 120. There are 3 of them. You can stack them like that as high as you want, or you can, I hate to do this with one hand. Oh, hold on. You can do this, do it this way, and you can have 3 in a row side by side. Extremely versatile. So you can see it fits fine. Okay, well, you can see my phone died when I started that video. So while it was charging, I went ahead, I put my whole 320 of the big Honolulu set, the giant set, into here, which you can see fits everything. I tried to somewhat color coordinate it. I don't bother doing it by number. I just do it kind of by color. I did put together cool gray, warm gray, neutral grays just to make it easier. And then there's 4 neons, which I put here at the end, but you can see it fits well. I didn't see a neon green or a neon pink. So maybe they don't make it, but you can see here there's enough slots left for the 19 Japan set colors and the 21 extra skin tone colors. And the 2 extra pastel colors. If you want to get the entire 360, I guess, what was it, 3 Ohuhu Honolulu alcohol marker color range. I kind of want to keep all my skin tones together though, so I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do yet. I haven't decided, but yeah, these are great. They look really nice together. You can line them up on the back of your desk or put them on your art table or wherever you want. I have 3 of these with all my Copics, so I'm gonna have them all lined up on my desk. Okay, everybody, well, we are going to move into the remainder of the video. Okay, so I have all sampling the different Ohuhus and tips, and we are going to take a look at the differences, try them on a few different papers. I'm gonna show you the Kaala and the Molokai. So I wanted to first show you the Molokai. The Molokai are the extra wide markers for large spaces. There's not a lot of colors. There's 4 packs of the 6, obviously. That means there's 24. So this is the only one I have so far, the Tropical Vintage. And they're really big. They look like this. And it's odd to me because the color isn't reflective really on the tips. For example, this says deep olive green. This says summer lemon. So they're all just kind of gray, which is weird, but we're going to take a look at that. We also have lipstick red. We'll try that one too. So there's not a lot of these colors, and these are just for like getting large expanses of space, like in a background somewhere. Then we have the Kaala series. The Kaala series has I believe several different sets. There's a landscape tone, an illustration tone, and a primary tone. They're limited in colors, and it's a newer line since the Ohuhu Honolulu and Ohuhu Oahu. And the tips are different as well. They have a more slender base. Here are the colors you get in the landscape set. And there's some real, it has a real narrow piece. And I haven't been able to get a confirmation from Ohuhu, emailing them twice, how many colors are in the 2 or 3 of the Kaala sets that are not in the other sets. And I can't seem to get an answer. I got one reply that said where they're going to try to find out, and I never heard back, like a week ago. But considering that the Ohuhu Honolulu has, what, I think I said 300 and, what was it, 58, but Ohuhu makes 401 or 2 colors. So the additional colors come across in some of these other sets. So I do think there's a few exclusive colors. And in looking at this, I'm trying to read it. God, this writing is so small. I can barely read. Like, here's one called Bud Green. I don't recognize. Fresh Blue. I don't recognize. But anyway, okay, we'll get back to that. So let's just pull out one from this one, and we will give it a whirl and as well. And we'll talk about the different barrels. And I'm going to move this out of the way. And so let's look at the different barrels. So let's first start with the Ohuhu Maui line, the brush markers. These are the ones I showed you. Comes in the 120 or 160. They're water-based. They're more affordable than the alcohol markers, and they do have this sort of typical like water brush type ending tip, and the fine tiny point for getting little tiny things. The water-based mediums, you have to be careful what paper you use them on. Obviously, you can use them on an actual water-based watercolor type tablet or paper if you print your pictures on that. This is my Nina paper. It's my most commonly used paper for doing pencils and markers, alcohol markers. It's not my Express blending card, which is the shiny or the Copic marker paper, which is best for the high-end alcohol markers. It's kind of the in-between one that doesn't have the shine to it. It's like a cardstock, but it does work well. I'm gonna do a little bit of this brush marker on here, and this paper is okay for water-based mediums, but if you actually apply the water brush or do too many layers other than a single layer, it does tend to, you can gum up the paper, like it starts to take up a little bit of the paper. But you see I'm doing just some single layers. I'm not doing the water, and it seems to work fine. It's a different application than the alcohol markers, any of them. It does tend to, let's get the gray areas. We're going to test it on Amazon paper as well. It is more likely to be streaky. I only used water type brush pens on small areas. Like this pumpkin is the max size I would probably do it on. You're less likely to get the streaks if you're doing little areas. Grayscale tends to hide the streaks compared to non-grayscale picture, so you can't really see anything here. I'm already feeling it a little, so if I feel the paper, it's a little bumpy, like it's already taken up some microscopic specks of the paper because the paper's wet with a water based, you know, this is mostly water with ink. So it won't feel as smooth after. But you can see how that works fairly well as far as how it appears. But that's why you wouldn't go over it and layer it and use a second color. It will start to tear up a little bit. And there's really no need because alcohol markers tend to get a streak-free different look and an easier look. Let's do, I have Mythographics Wild Summer. by Joseph Kattenbang, and this is a really good paper. I haven't really used any water-based pens in these books. The paper is obviously better than Amazon paper. It's more white. It's a little different than that Nina paper I just showed you. So let's do a little bit of a piece of a flower with the red and the orange, or the, it's really supposed to be red and orange. It looks like two different oranges. And here it looks very pale compared to on the grayscale. You can see. We're also going to see if it bleeds through the back. I realized I might have accidentally grabbed like a neon orange. So it is brushing pretty smooth on this paper. But I am keeping it, again, a quick, simple layer. I'm not going over and over. And you can blend these. These are kind of like what the Tombow dual brush pens are. Those are a little higher end. Just a little bit, although Ohuhu brand is pretty well known, obviously, but they're more known for their alcohol markers. Tombows are more known for their water-based markers. So I did blend two oranges here. Not sure you can tell a bunch. You can tell a little, and it feels a little rougher. It doesn't have that almost translucent see-through look you get with an alcohol marker. So here, smooth. Little, yeah, it's bumpy. The paper is mounding up a little, just like it would with a watercolor. It's like a bubble. You can feel it. Let's look on the back. Okay, it didn't really go through, other than this is just a water spot, barely tinge of a darker white from the water. Once that dries, that should go away. So these are good pens you can use for pages you don't want to have things bleed through. I might even do smaller areas than this. Also, when it dries, you can go over it with pencil. However, alcohol markers are better for having a pencil as a top layer than water-based ones, because you do always have that bumpy look, which makes it a little harder with certain pencils. It doesn't work so well with oil type pencils like Holbein's or Polychromos. I would recommend going over it with only like a Prismacolor or a Sucolor, which are really waxy. But yeah, it's definitely bumpy. Let's try the Autumn Charm. This is clearly just a straight up standard Amazon paper. Super cute. One of those new cute books I got. Let's find something. We can try that orange on. Maybe this pumpkin. I'm sorry. Pumpkin scarecrow. Are there any pumpkins in here? There's got to be a pumpkin somewhere. Autumn Charm, for goodness sake. Pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin. Okay, here we go. Let's try it on the pumpkin. Once these dry, I can zoom in for you. Now, standard Amazon paper. This is actually a little thinner almost than the standard Amazon paper. I can almost see my hand through it, but let's just see. This is the paper where you're going to get the streaks more likely, especially if you go over it multiple times. You can already see the streaks. The paper is more rough, has more tooth, and it's more dry, which means it's going to leave an inconsistency in the absorption of the ink, and that's why you get those streaks. So you definitely have to go over this with a pencil. So this is how it looks straight on paper. It's definitely, I bet you it's going to go through. It's definitely going through because of how thin the paper is, and it has, this paper is not good for water mediums. Most of the Amazon papers, like in the Hannah Lynn books or the Joshua Dunbar Coco Wild books, definitely not. And it buckles a little. I mean, it works, but it doesn't look pretty. So there really isn't a lot of point. If you're going to use the brush pens, do small areas, do the better papers, whether it's your printables, a glossy paper, an actual Bristol watercolor type paper to print your pictures on, or the higher end, either Etsy or maybe like a Joanna Basford paper, that kind of thing, or the Mythographic or the Kirby Rosanis papers. Yeah, so you can see the difference. But yeah, they're rich in ink. There's plenty of ink, but this is the typical, result you get when you use water markers on Amazon paper. let's move on now. Oh, do I have, oh, these are just standard papers. Let's move on to the wide tip Ohuhu alcohol. This is the Molokai's. So, well, you can see this huge tip. Look at that. It's flat too. So this is, again, for your wide spaces. I have to get a hang of it. Yeah, for doing backgrounds, I'm gonna have to do a few layers. And this is the orangish one. I have to get a hang of it. I haven't used these yet. I've had these for a little while. If you get streaks on that once it dries, you can do another layer, or you can do pencil. And if you had like a frame around a picture, like let's say the frame was just a strip, you know, you can do the border or whatever if you had a frame, something like that. This, let me see if I have anything here we could try that on. I do have, let's look back on the mythographic page. Why not? We could try, I don't have a divider because alcohol, it is alcohol marker. It is going to bleed through. This isn't quite thick enough, but should work. So this area, for example, in the sky, it's kind of zigzaggy, right? It's not straight. So you could theoretically use the marker. I got this kind of lime green one. We could try to do a little bit of sunset with that. I mean, you could try, gosh, you really need a straighter area. I didn't bring any other books with me. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Well, let's just do it on the flower. There we go. Let's say I want to just do straight up, cover a lot of flower surface real quickly. You can use the tip on the side. If you have like ocean, skies, anywhere where we have a lot of spaces where you really want to use these, but yeah, you can see how quickly you can cover everything pretty quickly. You can just touch up after. So yeah, and obviously it's alcohol marker. It is going to bleed through, which is fine because I do like markers in my mythographic books. Yeah, so you can cover a lot of space quick. It's basically the same ink that you have in the others, but you need the right kind of surface and book where you can use this. Let's try on that Amazon paper just to see what happens. Autumn Charm. This is kind of my experimental book. Let's just try an actual little space here. Again, not enough background. I need a picture that has a lot of background, but if we just wanted to do some background. You can see this takes a little more practice. You could do that. See, it's pretty streak free when you keep the flow going. Let's turn the picture this way. The little corner, and working well enough. I mean, obviously it's going to bleed through, but it looks fine. I mean, you could try to get some areas here. Use your pointed tip just to kind of get into these areas here. Helps you cover your background surface quicker. The tip, the angled tip requires a little bit of getting used to. Oops. And it's okay if you overlap, you just, on something, you just go over it with a darker color. You can just kind of touch it up. Let it dry. If there is any, the alcohol will dry, it'll take up any kind of streakiness you have. Yeah, so I mean, you could really do the whole background with this thing. Clearly it's going to bleed through, but Amazon paper, like once this dries, it'll evaporate the mismatched color. But Amazon paper does handle alcohol marker pretty well if you don't mind the bleed through and you're not trying to blend a lot of colors because it dries too fast. So keep that in mind. You can use alcohol markers pretty easily in books. Since I have this open on these Amazon books, let me open here the standard. This is the standard Honolulu tips from the big set, or which also is what you have with the pastel set or the skin tone. It's the chisel nib, which is thicker, and the brush end. This is for the Honolulu series. So let's just color the sleeve here on the robe. I can blend it here with this other color. These are probably totally bad colors for blending. Yeah, this is not good blending colors because they're so different, but that can be our underlayer. We'll go back over it. Obviously, you want to make sure you're picking good colors that will blend well. But yeah, you do get, see that orange is showing through there. You can use Ohuhu markers on Amazon paper. It works just fine. If you have if you do solid colors or very similar colors, like maybe a darker red and a little bit of a medium red that you're blending, not something that's so, look at nice solid color. Here we have the orange layer underneath. You can cover that up, but it changes it like a little. Let's do a little bit of this. Yeah, so I mean, obviously the Ohuhus, the Honolulus work amazing on Amazon paper. They really do. You gotta let it dry, of course. But people that say, oh, you can't use alcohol markers on Amazon paper, that's not true. It's just not true. You just can't blend the same way and use the advanced techniques you would use elsewhere. Let me show you on the Joseph Cannonbang, the Wild Summer. And also I want to show you, where is my, what happened to my pumpkin girl? Oh, let me show you two on my pumpkin girl. Let's look at the alcohol marker in comparison. So we're just going to use the brush tip. This is my Nina paper, which I do use a lot for my markers, for printing Etsy or Patreon pictures. I'm just going kind of, this was an extra, so I'm just going kind of fast and sloppy just so you can kind of see. I'm not actually going to do this picture. The color looks totally different on here than it did on the other one. You can use the chisel nib to fill in spaces. I should have grabbed some better colors. Now this paper you can actually blend, whereas you can't do that on Amazon paper. You see how I'm actually blending the dark, like this kind of orangey red, or the red with the peach. It actually is dissolving, like blending in. You cannot blend the same way on the Amazon paper, or very well. That's the difference. It's not that you can't use it on the Amazon paper, you just can't get the same effects. You see how that is? You see the a little bit of underlayer of the darker one. Now if I feel it, this is bumpy because it was these were water pens, like rough, and a little bit of a wave to it. This is perfectly smooth. So that's the difference between the two. And I shall show you here, Joseph Kattenbang paper on my crab house we're looking at. I did do, obviously, these alcohol marker, so we can go over it with the darker one if we'd like. I'm going to try to go over just the alcohol marker. Now that we have that sort of yellow underlayer there. And then see if it blends as well. Yeah, so it doesn't blend as well as it did on my Nina paper, which you would use for Etsy printables you buy or Patreon pages. As you can see, it does blend better than standard Amazon paper. This is like the premium Amazon paper. You can still get away with it. It's just taking a little longer, and it's not quite as flawless. Let's see what happens if we go over the water-based with the alcohol marker. Let's just see. The colors are similar, so not much is happening. We have to do like a solid color. Guess I shouldn't have done this the same color the crab is going to be, because I'm actually going to color this picture so I can salvage it. So you see some of that water-based orange coming through. Now let's do a solid one without that underlayer of the water marker and see the difference. Use your divider page so you don't wreck the page underneath. Much more translucent, straight on the paper, solid color. Yeah, so you feel a little bit of that bumpy roughness, like wet paper, because it was the water marker underneath. This one is smooth. This one has an orange layer underneath. It didn't work poorly, though. Theoretically, you could use the alcohol marker on top of a water marker if you didn't want to use pencil as well. We can also use, since this is alcohol marker, do I have a pencil here that might work? I only have some Crayolas that I could grab. I have a neon. I don't think that's gonna, it's a Crayola. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Crayola is not a good enough quality pencil. What is this? I have, oh, it's Crayola too. Let's just see, is it dry enough? Well, I'll go over with some Crayola over the alcohol marker. You barely can't see anything. It's just, this neon is too pale. I can see a little. Let's try this one. Yeah, I don't usually use Crayolas. They're too, not good enough quality. Well, anyway, we get the idea there. So, next we're going to look at the Ohuhu Oahu, which was my original set that has the oval barrel. And in that one, you get the chisel end and the fine point end. There is no fine point end on the Ohuhu Honolulus. You get the chisel and the brush. This has the chisel and the fine point. And this line was a little bit older, the Oahu line. I do believe they've released a 320 set in the Oahu, similar to the 320 set in the Honolulu. I think, I didn't verify that. And the design of the new Oahu ones are a little different. But the colors are the same and they work the same, so there's really no need to test anything on this picture. You can test it on my Nina paper. You can see now this one is 7 years old, so it's, yeah, see, it's drying out. Whenever I pluck a new one out of my 7-year-old one that I haven't used in quite a long time, I realize they're almost all out of ink because I've never refilled or replaced them. So there's one that's going to the graveyard. It's a little more ink on the fine tip end, which is odd. Okay, so there's that. Lastly, we need to look at the Kaala series. The Kaala series are the newest ones that you can get the landscape set or the illustration set. They're kind of oval too. If you compare it here to the Oahu, no, yeah, this is the Oahu oval. This is the really thin Kaala oval. And this is the Honolulu. Okay, turn them this way, you can kind of see. The Kaala is unusual. It has a similar chisel end, but it's very thin and more of a point so that you can get into corners. And so we'll try that in a book. And then it also has this fine point end. If we were to compare this to the Oahu fine point end, it's even thinner than the Oahu fine point end. You probably can't see that. It's more pointy and not quite as stubby. And then if we were to compare the chisel ends, let's see, chisel. We've got the Oahu chisel and this chisel. The Kaalas are a longer chisel and they're a little thinner and a little pointier. Doesn't have as many colors. Let's try it in a book. Let's go to Joseph Kattenbang. Try this green on, let's see, we can try it on like a palm tree leaf. Because it has that pointed end. It's really good for getting into corners. If you have to get into tight spaces. That's what it's supposed to be for. There's that end. I mean, I don't see a huge need for these ones. This is the fine point. Unless you do a lot of things with like buildings or areas where you have a lot of tight square areas you want to get into corners. Yeah, the color is nice. This is vivid green. Let's see how it works with an alcohol blender. Lightens that up a little. I have a green pencil here. We can go over it and try that out. You can also use these little fine points here. The ink is really nice and rich. So what I am doing, I have my Honolulu, which has the brush and the chisel, but I do need some of these fine point ends. So I got the Kaalas mostly for the fine point, because my Ohuhu Oahus are all about dead, and I don't need to purchase another Oahu set just for the fine point. I could just get this Kaala, one of the Kaala sets, and get the basic colors for little tiny areas like that. See if that's dry enough. I can try out a pencil. I have a couple of green, actually I have some greens here. What do I have? These are my Colorite pencils. These are great pencils, actually. Oh, do I have a Prismacolor here? Yes, I do. Woo! Oh, it's olive green, though. Come on. Let's try to go over it since a palm leaf should be more olive. Is it dry enough? It's not quite dry enough, but you can get a lot more like 3D kind of dimensional effects when you go over it with pencil. Do I have a lighter green as well? I do have my color it. I can do in the middle. Yeah, that looks really nice actually. Look at that. So what I did is we did the Kaala base, an alcohol blender to get those light spots in the center. And then I did, obviously I went over it, but I did the dark green pencil outline with a lighter pencil on the inside. So yeah, I definitely would say, I mean, the thing is these markers all have different functions. The wide tip ones with the huge like background areas, I wouldn't use a whole ton, but I don't mind having the one primary color set. The Kaalas are nice because I can use the fine point, which is not in existence on all my Honolulus, which is what mostly I have. And my Oahus are about dead. I don't want to buy another Oahu because it's kind of a too many compared to I already have the Honolulus. So that's what I'm using the Kaalas for. And if I ever really need to get into like a tight corner, I can use the specific ends. So yeah, they all serve different purposes. And of course we have the brush pens. One thing I did not do is try a water pen. So let's do that on the brush markers. I have a Arteza water brush pen here. They come in like a 6 or a 12 pack. I use them all the time. Watercolor pencils, favorite Castel Gelatos for everything. And everything I'm using here, I'll link it below where you can find it at the best price. But let's try a little water. Let's try a little water over here. Just to see what happens. And it's leaking because my hand is wet. If I had another color, I could dab in, I have another water pen here. Oh, no, I don't, darn it. I just kind of go in and make some effects here. Now, I'm not blending a lot of colors, right? So there's not a lot of point in this water brush pen, but you squeeze it, get some water out. Has a small amount of water on it. It's definitely going to light it up like a watercolor. And it does take it off the brush. You can put it on here, you can see. So I think if you're going to be blending actual different colors and you want to look like a watercolor of different colors, that the water brush would work good. I mean, you can't really tell a huge difference putting it on dry versus the water brush when it's the same colors. Again, it didn't, other than the water spot, which should dry, it didn't go through. And it's a little bumpy because of the water. It's going to buckle your paper a little. So, you know, different things, different markers do. So that's everything I know about Ohuhus. If you have any specific Ohuhu questions, please list it below. I'll see if I can get you an answer. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys in another video.